He looked at me, his face a canvas of disbelief painted with the pale, sterile light of the hospital room. The single word that escaped his lips was a ghost, a whisper that carried the weight of a tectonic shift in our reality. Pregnant. The world, which had already been spinning, tilted on its axis and threatened to throw me off completely. Because that one word, that one impossible question, was the culmination of weeks of secrets, lies, and a single, catastrophic night of spectacularly poor judgment. The man asking the question was Tobias Hayes, my alpha roommate. The man he believed me to be was Eddie Kincaid, his sarcastic, athletic, and decidedly bitter roommate. The person I actually was euros well, that was a secret that had just been ripped wide open, and now, it seemed, it was a secret that was having a baby. Our baby. And as I looked into his wide, shocked eyes, I knew my long-held strategy of simply dealing with every problem tomorrow had just run out of tomorrows. My life has been a series of calculated risks and spectacular miscalculations. Our Euros trade V ingested questionable food from establishments that looked like they might be fronts for an entirely different kind of business. I once navigated a particularly rebellious high school phase with hair the color of murky pond water, earning myself the affectionate nickname Creature from the Black Lagoon for an entire semester. But none of those poor choices, not a single one, could hold a candle to the monumental screw-up I woke up to that one Tuesday morning. The first sensation was a throbbing, relentless rhythm inside my skull, as if a marching band had taken up residence between my ears. My mouth was as dry as desert sand, and a sliver of morning sun was cutting through a gap in the curtains with the precision of a laser, aimed directly at my retinas. I tried to roll over to escape the assault of the light, but my arm was pinned, trapped beneath something substantial. Something warm, something that was, to my growing horror, breathing. A low, gentle snore rumbled through the mattress, a sound far too close for comfort. I pried one eye open, a decision I instantly regretted as the light launched a full-scale invasion of my brain. And then, through the haze of my hangover, the shape beside me resolved into a person. Not just any person. Tobias, with his broad shoulders that took up more than his fair share of the bed, his dark hair a messy halo on my pillow, and his stupidly, unfairly handsome face was fast asleep next to me. My alpha roommate, or more accurately, the alpha who was blissfully unaware that his roommate was anything but a fellow beater. Letter Euros trade S be clear, I didn't Euros trade T broadcast Omega. I had worked damn hard not to. My entire physical presentation was a carefully constructed fortress of neutrality. I was lean, not delicate, a runner Euros trade S build honed by years of pounding the pavement on the track and cross-country teams. I was my Euros trade T bulky, but I was wiry and strong. My hair was kept short, a practical choice that also felt good against my skin when the wind was at my back. My wardrobe consisted almost exclusively of baggy sweatpants and hoodies that swallowed my frame, blurring any lines that might suggest a softer biology. And the most significant piece of my arsenal, my scent blockers. These when our Euros trade T the cheap, drugstore variety. I invested in industrial strength, military-grade suppressants that I applied with the devout ritualism of a monk, morning and night, and sometimes in the middle of the day if I felt the slightest tremor of an internal shift. This elaborate defense was necessary because I had presented late, incredibly late. I was already 21, deep into my university career, when my biology finally decided to reveal its hand. By then, my identity was forged. I was Eddie Kincaid, the independent, no-fuss athlete. I had a routine: run, study, eat, sleep. There was no room in that equation for the stereotypes that clung to omegas like a second skin. Euros the fussed over, fragile beings everyone seemed to walk on eggshells around. I refused to be that. I was not fragile, and I certainly wasn't about to confess any of this to Tobias. Euros be first seen his name on a flyer tacked to a campus bulletin board, an ad for a roommate. My dorm life had been a special kind of hell, and I was desperate for an escape. His ad was refreshingly straightforward: split rent, split chores, don't Euros be a slob. It appealed to my need for structure and autonomy. But the photo attached to the ad Euros, that was another story. Even in a low-resolution snapshot, his effortless smile and the warmth in his dark eyes had sent an unexpected jolt through me. A spark of attraction I quickly stamped out and dismissed as housing-related anxiety. When we met, the spark was still there, an annoying little flicker I had to consciously ignore. We established a pact of mutual non-interference in our personal lives, and for 3 glorious months, it worked. We coexisted in our 2-bedroom apartment, 2 ships passing in the shared kitchen. But I couldn't Euros deny the undercurrent. He was a distraction. He was loud and gregarious where I was quiet and reserved. His charm was as natural as breathing, while I wielded sarcasm like a shield. He radiated an easy alpha confidence that I, with my carefully projected beta neutrality, was never supposed to be drawn to. And yet, here we were. Here he was, shirtless in my bed, one powerfully built arm draped across my waist like a weighted blanket. His face, usually animated and expressive, was serene in sleep, his long, dark lashes resting against his cheekbones. The air smelled of him, that distinct alpha scent and sleep. And Euros, was that me? No, impossible. My blockers were infallible. I had checked the application twice yesterday morning. My entire body went rigid. The first rule of waking up next to a terrible mistake is do not move. Perhaps I could achieve a state of quantum entanglement with the mattress, phasing out of this reality and into one where I had more than 2 brain cells. But then, my carefully crafted plan for non-existence was shattered when he spoke my name. He didn't Euros say dude or bro. He mumbled Eddie, his voice a low, sleep-ravelly thing that wrapped around my name and made my heart try to escape through my throat. Panic took over. I shot upright, a movement that sent a fresh wave of agony through my skull. Crap, I hissed, clawing at the sheets, trying to locate my pants. I found them, to my profound humiliation, tangled around his ankle. As I scrambled, a strange tingle on my neck caught my attention. A mark, a bite. No, it couldn't be. An Alpha Euros claiming bite was a deep, instinctual act of bonding. I frantically ran my fingers over the skin. Nothing broken, just a tender, slightly bruised patch. A hickey. He had just Euros kissed my neck. Or maybe Euros run into the edge of the kitchen counter last night. Yes, that was it. Definitely the counter. A very aggressive kitchen counter. His eyes blinked open, still hazy with sleep. The dark irises were unfocused for a moment before they cleared, locking onto me with an expression I couldn't Euros quite decipher. Huh, war Euros naked. So are you, I squeaked, yanking my t-shirt over my head with a speed that would have impressed an Olympic committee. I didn't Euros even bother to check if it was inside out. And Euros we didn't Euros tar Euros did we? I mean, I think we did. Buter euros eater euros trade s possible we did na euros trade t. The words were a nonsensical torrent of panic. He pushed himself up, the bedsheets pooling around his waist. He ran a hand through his dark hair, a casual morning gesture that had always secretly irritated me with its effortless appeal. He looked disturbingly calm, considering we had just detonated our carefully negotiated living arrangement. Our euros trade, I'm pretty sure we did, he said, his voice still rough. Twice, I think. My world tilted. My scent. My infallible blockers. The art show party Sarah had dragged me to. We euros trade D escaped after less than an hour, retreating to the safety of our own couch with a bottle of cheap wine and a horror movie so terrible it looped back around to being brilliant. We hadn't euros trade T even drunk that much, just enough to blur the edges, to make the jump scares funnier and the silences between our laughs feel less like the vast, empty space we usually maintained between us. A shared look that held a second too long. His hand on my knee when I feigned a startled yelp. Athena euros this catastrophic, world-altering morning after. Tobias let out a massive yawn, stretching his arms high above his head, the muscles in his back and shoulders flexing in a way that I pointedly did not look at. You know, he said, his voice laced with amusement, for a beater, you are euros trade surprisingly flexible. A dry, strangled cough escaped my lips. My face felt like it was on fire. Yeah, I managed, yanking my sweatpants up so high they were practically a turtleneck. About farter euros the about that conversation was swiftly and expertly avoided. We dressed in a silence so thick you could have cut it with a knife, after which Tobias muttered something about an early lecture and all but sprinted out of the apartment. I channeled my panic into productivity, stripping the bed and scrubbing every surface of our shared living space until it shone. A desperate attempt to physically erase the memory of what had happened. The problem wasn't the act itself. To my eternal frustration, it had been a euros good. More than good. It had been exceptional. The real problem was the subtext. The glaring, inconvenient truth that I, an omega masquerading as a beater with the help of a small fortune in scent suppressants, had just slept with my alpha roommate. An alpha roommate who was completely in the dark about my true nature. And then there was the other, more terrifying possibility. The one that made my stomach clench with a cold, creeping dread. The possibility over euros repercussions. The first sign was subtle. A sudden, violent repulsion to the aroma of the cheap coffee Tobias brewed with religious devotion every morning. The smell, once just a mundane part of our apartment euros trade's soundscape, now sent waves of nausea rolling through me. And then, the pickles arrived. Not just any pickles. Blueberry pickles. I didn't even know such a culinary monstrosity existed until I happened to walk by a quirky little specialty food shop on the far side of campus. My stomach, seemingly possessed by an alien intelligence, screamed at me, "You must have them. Your continued existence is contingent upon the acquisition of those blueberry pickles." I bought the jar. I consumed the entire jar in a single, shame-filled session, standing over the kitchen sink as the sickly sweet brine dripped from my chin. That should have been a sign visible from space. But my denial was a powerful force. It was stress. It was a lingering flu. It was that gas station sushi from 3 years ago finally staging its revenge. The mood swings came next. One moment, I was a functional human being. The next, I was weeping uncontrollably at a commercial for dog food. An hour later, I was overcome with a primal rage because Tobias had left his socks on the living room floor. Euros, a daily occurrence that had never once registered on my emotional Richter scale before. There was a persistent, dull ache in my lower back that no amount of stretching could soothe. And there was a strange, fluttering sensation deep in my abdomen. I tried to dismiss it as indigestion, but it didn't feel like gas. It felt like tiny, frantic butterflies were trying to learn tap dance routines inside me. I still couldn't bring myself to tell Tobias. What would I even say? Hey, remember that one time we got drunk and slept together, which we both tacitly agreed to never mention again? Well, plot twist. Turns out M and Omega, my scent blockers, experienced a catastrophic failure, and I'm pretty sure you accidentally knocked me up. The words wouldn't form. They were too heavy, too impossible. The reality of being pregnant with Tobias' child was a terrifying weight. The life I had so painstakingly built, the independence I cherished above all else, felt like it was dissolving into sand. I played out the worst-case scenarios in my head on a loop. Tobias, furious, feeling tricked and demanding I terminate the pregnancy. Tobias, betrayed, his easygoing charm curdling into cold resentment. He thought I was a stable, predictable beater, not a biological wild card prone to things like inconvenient heats and life-altering accidental pregnancies. The deception was a chasm between us, and this news would be the earthquake that made it impassable. Would he throw me out? Would he just pack a bag and disappear? The thought of him being trapped, of him resenting me and resenting the baby was a cold knot of fear I couldn't untie. My coping mechanism had always been simple: put your head down, focus on the immediate, and push the rest off until tomorrow. But this burden was getting heavier by the day. My avoidance tactics became an art form. Every time he entered a room, all tall and handsome and smelling of that ridiculously expensive woodsy shampoo he used, my nervous system would sound a 4-alarm fire. I would grab my backpack, mumble something about needing to study, and flee. He wasn't stupid. He noticed. He just didn't know the real reason for my erratic behavior. "You doing okay, Eddie?" he asked one evening. I was bent over the kitchen sink, dry heaving after catching a whiff of the garlic he was dicing for dinner. He was leaning against the doorframe, frowning with concern. "V seemed off for a while. You look pale." I waved a dismissive hand, fighting to keep my voice from trembling. "Just a stomach bug." Eater going around campus. He crossed his arms, his gaze sharp and unconvinced. "A stomach bug that makes you gag at garlic, but also makes you eat an entire jar of pickles in one go." I coughed, then shot him a glare. They were blueberry pickles, and they were a culinary delight. "Don't knock it till you've tried it." His expression didn't soften. "Do beaters get morning sickness?" I felt the air leave my lungs. My head snapped up to look at him. "Do alphas enjoy getting punched in the throat?" A slow grin finally spread across his face, that infuriatingly charming smile that always disarmed me. Only when they're asking perfectly reasonable questions. He thought he was being clever. He thought this was some bizarre, inexplicable medical mystery afflicting his beater roommate. He had no idea, and I was going to do everything in my power to keep it that way. I started taking my blockers more often, showering multiple times a day, and eating all my meals locked in my bedroom, using the excuse of needing to study. But the fluttering wasn't stopping. It was growing stronger, more defined. The blueberry pickles were still a staple. Euros trade D even found myself giving a jar of pickled beets a long, contemplative look at the grocery store. This was not a problem I could put off until tomorrow. This was a today problem. A very big, very real, today problem. Concealing my condition from Tobias was a full-time job. Maintaining my workout regimen while pregnant was a Herculean feat of self-deception. My endurance had vanished. My muscles protested in new and creative ways, and the ever-present nausea made the very idea of a morning run feel like a form of medieval torture. But I kept pushing. The facade had to be maintained. I had to be Eddie, the sarcastic beta runner, not Eddie, the secretly pregnant Omader carrying his Alpha Rheumatoid Euros trade S baby. Every grueling mile was an act of rebellion against a biology I had spent years trying to outrun. The breaking point arrived, as it was always destined to, in the campus gym. We were in a recreational sparring class. Tobias had joined a few weeks prior, claiming he was bored of lifting weights. I had a sneaking suspicion he just enjoyed finding new ways to get under my skin, or maybe, on some subconscious level, my shifting Omader hormones were drawing him closer. We were in our Euros trade T fighting for real, just light grappling drills, practicing holds and escapes. I was on the mat, trying to squirm my way out of a pin. Tobias was kneeling over me, his body weight a solid, grounding presence. It was a standard athletic position, one we Euros trade D been in a dozen times. But this time was different. This time, my body revolted. A switch flipped inside me, and suddenly my every instinct was screaming one of two things. Either fight him with the fury of a wild animal, or pull him down and never, ever let him go. The change was instantaneous and overwhelming. My skin felt electric, too tight for my body. A low, primal hum started deep in my bones and radiated outward, a vibration of pure, unadulterated instinct. My control, already frayed by hormones and anxiety, finally snapped. My military-grade scent blockers, it turned out, were no match for the biological supernova erupting inside me. They didn't Euros trade T just fail, they were obliterated. Right there, on a sweaty mat in the middle of the crowded gym, my heat came on. It wasn't a full-blown, debilitating heat, not yet, but it was an undeniable tidal wave of pure Omader scent and raw, instinctual need. The air around us grew thick, charged. I saw Tobias freeze above me, his eyes widening almost imperceptibly. His own scent, normally a controlled, pleasant warmth, flared in response Euros first with shock, then with a sharp, questioning note, the instinctive alpha reaction to an Omader in distress. And beneath it all, there was something else. A flicker of recognition. A spark of possessiveness. A low groan was torn from my throat. I squeezed my eyes shut and buried my face in my arms, wishing the mat would swallow me whole. The cacophony of the gym Euros, the grunts, the squeak of shoes, the clang of weights Euros faded into a dull roar in my ears. All I was aware of was Tobias, his weight on me, his scent flooding my senses, and my own scent, which was now screaming my deepest, most protected secret to the entire world. He remained motionless for a heart-stopping moment. Then, his voice, low and devoid of emotion, sliced through my panicked haze. "War Euros trade Renata Beater." It wasn't a Euros trade T a question. It was a statement of fact, heavy with the weight of my long-held deception. "Wow," I gasped, the effort of speaking making my superheated body feel like it was about to combust. Astute observation. Was it the fact that I just spontaneously went into heat in a public space? Or the sudden, overwhelming urge ire euros trade am fighting to bite you. He scrambled off me in an instant, but he didn't euros trade t go far. He knelt beside me, his gaze a whirlwind of shock, confusion, and something else I couldn't identify in my delirium. He was visibly fighting to control his own scent, to suppress the instinctual alpha response to an unmated omega inhibitor euros my omega scent, which must be hitting him with the force of a battering ram. The atmosphere around us had shifted. Other students were starting to cast curious glances our way. The coach blew his whistle. Kincaid. Hayes, everything all right over there? All good, coach, Tobias called back, his voice strained. He attempted a casual wave that looked more like a spasm. Eddie euros trade juster euros feeling a little dizzy. He looked back down at me, the initial shock in his eyes giving way to a deep, protective concern. The alpha instinct was kicking in, and it was aimed directly at me. We need to leave, right now. The escape from the gym was a blur. Mumbled excuses, hurried movements, and Tobias steering me towards the exit, his hand a firm, proprietary grip on my arm. His scent was a confusing cocktail of concern and bewildered arousal. My body ached, my head was swimming, and the full, terrifying reality of the situation came crashing down. The secret was out. And now, the biggest secret of all was the only one left to tell. After the gym incident, I became a ghost in my own apartment. My bedroom was my fortress, my nest of blankets and pillows my last line of defense. Every shared space euros the kitchen, the living room euros felt like hostile territory, fraught with the potential for a confrontation I was not equipped to handle. Tobias euros trade's very presence was a constant, radiating reminder of my lies, my vulnerability, and the impossible mess we were in. The preheat had faded as quickly as it had arrived, leaving me physically drained, emotionally shattered, and more nauseous than ever. I nested with a fervor I hadn't euros trade known I possessed, piling every soft object I owned into a corner of my room. I surrounded myself with a few comforting scents I had of my own, and the faint, lingering alpha scent on the hoodies I had stolen from Tobias euros trade's laundry pile weeks ago. In the quiet of my room, I stared at the grainy ultrasound photo the campus clinic had given me, the one I kept hidden under my pillow. There it was. The proof. A tiny, indistinct blob that was undeniably, terrifyingly real. A life created in a moment of reckless abandon. Tobias tried to breach my defenses. He knocked on my door, his voice a low, concerned rumble through the wood. Eddie, can we talk? I would curl tighter into my nest, pulling the blankets over my head until he gave up and walked away. The thought of opening the door, of seeing the hurt and betrayal in his eyes mix with a raw alpha instinct that was surely screaming at him now, was paralyzing. What could I even say? How could I explain years of hiding, a one-night stand, and a secret pregnancy all in one breath? It felt like handing him a weapon and just hoping he wouldn't euros trade to use it. The fear that he would demand I get rid of it, that he would see our child as nothing more than a mistake to be erased, kept my door firmly shut. My strategy of procrastination was failing spectacularly. The breaking point, when it came, was quiet and brutal. I had forced myself out for a short jog, desperate for a sliver of my old life, a reminder that I was still Eddie the runner, not just a walking incubator. It was a foolish mistake. Halfway around the campus quad, the world began to tilt. My legs turned to lead. I stumbled off the path, the world dissolving into a dark, swirling vortex as I collapsed onto the grass. I came to with a gentle tapping on my cheek and a voice calling my name. Tobias. He must have seen me from our apartment window, or maybe some primal alpha instinct had alerted him that something was wrong. His scent, usually so controlled, was sharp with undiluted panic. Eddie, hey, stay with me. His face was pale, his features tight with alarm. He helped me sit up, his hands surprisingly gentle. Eurostrade am fine, I mumbled, trying to push him away, but my arms had the structural integrity of cooked spaghetti. No, you are Eurostrade not, he said, his voice firm with worry. You just passed out, and you are Eurostrade burning up. He didn't Eurostrade press for explanations. He didn't Eurostrade question why his supposedly tough beater roommate was suddenly so fragile. He just scooped me into his arms with an ease that was both profoundly humiliating and infuriatingly comforting and started walking towards the campus health center. From there, things escalated quickly. The infirmary took one look at me and decided I needed a more thorough evaluation at the hospital. Tobias, silent and grim, insisted on coming with me, his presence a solid, unmoving weight beside me in the taxi. At the hospital, they ran tests. They drew blood. And then, a doctor entered my small curtained-off room, a chart in her hand and a placid, professional expression on her face that did nothing to soothe my frayed nerves. She looked from my pale face to Tobias, who was perched rigidly on a visitor Eurostrade's chair, his jaw clenched so tight I was surprised it didn't Eurostrade shatter. Mr. Kincaid, she began, her gaze directed at me but her tone clearly including Tobias in the conversation. Your blood work is showing highly elevated hormone levels, consistent with early-stage pregnancy. And given your presentation as an Ongar she let the sentence hang in the air, the unspoken implications landing like a physical blow. It was in that moment, under the hum of the fluorescent lights, that I saw it all unfold on Tobias Eurostrade's face. The Dr. Eurostrade's words hit him, and his head snapped towards me. First, there was shock, wide-eyed and absolute. Then, a flicker of disbelief, as if his brain was refusing to process the information. And finally, his eyes dropped to my stomach, hidden beneath the thin hospital blanket, and a terrible, dawning comprehension settled in. The odd food cravings, the morning sickness, my sudden scent shift at the Gymer all the disparate, confusing pieces clicked into place, forming a picture of betrayal he had never seen coming. He looked as though I had reached across the small space between us and struck him. Pregnant, he whispered. I couldn't find my voice. I could only nod, the silent affirmation causing tears to well in my eyes, blurring his wounded expression. The doctor kept talking, her voice a distant drone discussing prenatal vitamins and follow-up appointments. I couldn't Eurostrade hear her. All my senses were focused on Tobias, on the storm of emotions raging in his eyes. He said nothing else. He moved like a man in a trance, helping me with discharge papers, his silence a suffocating blanket in the taxi ride home. He saw me to the couch, then turned and walked to his bedroom, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded like a final judgment. The days that followed were a special kind of hell. We were two ghosts haunting the same apartment, the silence between us thick with unspoken accusations and fear. His retreat was worse than any angry outburst I had imagined. It was a cold, complete withdrawal that left me feeling utterly alone. I had broken us. I had ruined everything. And then, a piece of folded paper slid under my door. His messy, familiar scrawl filled the page. Eddie, look, I know you are Euros trade re-mad. And I know I screwed up, probably multiple times. I don't understand everything that's happening, not even close. But I don't care if you're an Omega, or if you're mad at me. I just want to talk. Please. Andrew Euros, I just want to be there for the little blueberry pickle. A circumflex Euros tea. Blueberry pickle. A wave of something sharp and painful, something that felt dangerously like hope, pierced through the fog of my misery. He remembered. Through the shock, through the hurt, he remembered a stupid joke from weeks ago. He was seeing past the lie. He was seeing the baby. He was maybe, possibly, still seeing me. A choked, hysterical laugh escaped me, quickly dissolving into a full-blown, ugly sob. I cried until I was breathless and shaking. And then, on unsteady legs, I walked to my door, and for the first time in days, I opened it. He was there, sitting on the floor in the hallway, looking up at me with a hesitant, hopeful expression that was a perfect mirror of my own. That conversation was the single most difficult thing I have ever done. We didn't create a buffer zone of furniture between us this time. He came into my room and sat on the edge of my bed, close but not crowding me. I pulled my legs up, hugging my knees to my chest, and I started talking. I told him everything. I explained the humiliation of presenting so late, the feeling that my own body had betrayed me and robbed me of a choice. I talked about the deep-seated fear of being stereotyped, of having my athletic accomplishments minimized, of being seen as nothing more than a fragile Omega. I explained that the beater facade, the scent blockers, the baggy clothes Euros, it was all armor. My only way of feeling in control of my own life. And then I told him about the terror I felt when I realized I was pregnant, how the fear that he would see it as a problem to be solved, that he would ask me to Euros to end eater Euros had been a constant, crippling weight. He just listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't get defensive. His gaze never wavered, and his expression softened from tense confusion to a deep, dawning understanding. When I finally admitted my deepest fear Euros, that he would want me to get an abortion Euros, I saw a flicker of genuine hurt in his eyes. "Eddie," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "How could you Euros? I would never." He shook his head, running a hand through his hair. "Okay, look. Finding out you weren't a beater, and that you were pregnant, all in the same 5 minutes in a hospital Euros, yeah. That was a shock, a massive shock, and I felt Euros blindsided, but I wasn't Euros betrayed by you. I was just confused by the situation, by everything, but I would never, ever ask you to do that. Not ever." He hesitated for a moment, then reached out and gently laid his hand on my stomach. His touch was warm, solid, and impossibly reassuring. "This is Euros, this is our baby, Eddie. Mine, too. No matter what else is going on, this little one is part of both of us." It was so far from the angry, accusatory confrontation I had braced myself for. It was empathy. It was a fierce, protective certainty that stole the air from my lungs. He wasn't angry that I had lied, he was sad that I had felt I needed to. "Eater Euros trade's not your fault," I mumbled, my gaze fixed on a loose thread on my blanket. "Ire Euros trade am the one who hid everything. I should have told you sooner." "Maybe," he conceded, his thumb tracing slow, soothing circles on my belly. "Or maybe the world shouldn't Euros be a place that makes you feel like you have to hide who you are. Omegas aren't fragile, Eddie. You are Euros literally the strongest person I know." You're Eurostrade V been dealing with all this completely on your own, and you were still willing to open that door and talk to me. Even when you thought I was going to be an asshole about it. That takes strength. That night was the beginning. We talked for hours, untangling the complicated knot of our fears and our futures. The path ahead was terrifying and completely unplanned, but for the first time, it didn't Eurostrade feel impossible. Tobias wasn't Eurostrade pushy or demanding. He was just there. He started leaving snacks outside my door, things like crackers and ginger ale. He quietly took over the dinner duties, making simple, bland meals that wouldn't trigger my Norsair. One afternoon, I came home from a Dr. Eurostrade's appointment to find he had assembled a ridiculously complicated baby crib in the middle of our living room, a look of triumphant exhaustion on his face. He started researching things, leaving printouts on the kitchen counter about omega pregnancies and alpha nesting instincts. He was trying, in his own quiet, earnest way, to bridge the gap between us, to build a new foundation out of the rubble of our old one. It was a slow process, a delicate dance of rebuilding trust and navigating the strange new territory of becoming parents. There was no magical fix, no sudden declaration of love. It was just two people, bound by an unexpected life, cautiously, carefully, learning how to be a family. So thought Eurostrade's how our story began. Not with a romance, but with a lie, a one-night stand, and a jar of blueberry pickles. Eurostrade's a messy, complicated, and terrifying journey, but as I watched Tobias struggle to read the instructions for a baby swing, a small, genuine smile touches my lips for the first time in what feels like an eternity. And I think, just maybe, this is a story that might have a happy ending after all. What do you think is the biggest challenge Eddie and Tobias will face as they prepare to become parents? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed their story, don't Eurostrade forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more.